when you analyze, when you see a Tristan chord, you analyze it like this. You put a capital T with a circle around it. That means Tristan. And then normally a 1-6-4 goes to a 5 and to a 1. Now, he thought of this chord much like you could think of a German 6 or something. He actually started with his A minor and said, let me have some leads to that. So he gets an F natural, it goes down to an E. A B natural, it goes up, the F natural went down a half step. Then a B natural, it goes up a half step. A D sharp, it goes up a half step. And a leading tone, T-do. So you put all of that together and you get this very interesting sound. Although he doesn't go 1, 6, 4, 5, 1. He sets it up right here. He usually has it up here too. Isn't that pensive? So here's Isolde, and Isolde goes like this, and then the orchestra goes, and you go, thinking of Tristan. That's what it means. It's either Tristan's coming or there, or thinking of Tristan. So if you want to learn how to recognize it, think of a 1-6-4 in A minor. The top 3 voices start a half step lower, and the bottom voice have the F down to an E. So just think, the reason I think of 1-6-4 is this the way he spells it all the time. So the F is pulling down to an E, so if you think of it going to a 1-6-4, F, and then as you go up to the next tone that's a half step below a chord tone, you've got your B moving up a half step to C, your D sharp moving up a half step, okay, your G sharp moving up a half step. So you kind of think of it backwards. You think here, the 1-6-4, with that being the lowest part, and then you approach it F down to that. The other 3 voices are all going up. So you think of your 1-6-4, and then just go down a half step from each of these. Now, I don't know if you can remember that. For this class, it is not important. You won't be tested on the Tristan. But I'm actually up to 3 times where a student is transferred, and when they're at the university, they're given something to analyze. Wagner is very popular because it shows you know what you're doing. If you can analyze Wagner, you know what you're doing. But usually the teachers don't expect you to analyze the Tristan chord. They just don't count it wrong if you call it something else. But I'm up to 3 times where students in my class have successfully labeled it Tristan, and each of the 3 times they said the teacher calls them over and said, where did you learn that? One was Chico, place Joaquin always sent everybody to sing. South anyway, San Jose State. And I don't remember the 3rd one, but they all 3 of them said, oh, you were so right. It was like, one of them, the teacher had a graduate assistant assisting, and the teacher asked the graduate assistant to explain to the class what a Tristan chord was, and the graduate assistant couldn't explain it because they hadn't gotten to it yet. This was somebody working on a master's degree. They hadn't gotten to it. So, anyway, for what it's worth, if you can remember that, if you do recognize it, they like to give examples from Tristan and Isolde. That's why it shows up, because this is a really good one to show if somebody really knows how to analyze music, because of all these secondaries and chromatic chords. But if you can remember, I would love for someone to be the 4th one to get recognized for knowing it.
But isn't it just a G sharp minor 7th triad?
Well,
G sharp B, D sharp F, in harmonic with an A flat minor 7th?
No, because that is not a minor 3rd. It's a diminished 3rd.
Okay.
So, do you remember when we did German 6 in C? If you stack it in thirds, that's a C triad. This interval is not a minor or major third, it's a diminished third. That's why it doesn't make any sense to stack it in thirds. Same thing. You stack it in thirds. This makes sense. Well, not really, because then you have a minor chord built on the leading tone, which doesn't make sense. But the seventh, you can't really explain that,
So
because
it's
we have
kind
no
of
way
like-
of explaining diminished thirds.
So it's the reverse of a German sixth? The
Well,
diminished
it's similar to a German sixth in that you have something that looks like a real triad, as in major, minor, and then you have a third that's diminished that
Okay.
ends up being an augmented sixth if you turn it upside down. And just like the German sixth, no one could explain this in terms of thirds or why it works, so they gave it the nickname the Tristan. Same way they gave the nickname German sixth, Italian sixth, they gave this the nickname the Tristan chord. Just capital T with a circle on it.
Wagner was in the 1800s, right?
Late 1800s into the 1900s.
And nobody had discovered that chord before?
No, he invented it. It was a symbol.
It's weird that nobody ever saw that.
No, it makes sense because when they saw this diminished third, they'd go, well, that's not a real chord. We can't analyze that. But remember, this is so late in the Romantic period that it becomes modern. So he knew, like he used Italian six, French six, German six all over the place in all of his stuff. That's why his stuff is good to make students analyze, because they get to see all that. But he knew the theory of this diminished third not making sense. So he tried it out with a minor chord and turned it, it's not like it would work in any position. He had it in just the right position. And it really works when you hear or see the opera, just that looking off into space and hearing that. You just, think of Tristan.
Well, the earlier grades would have never thought of using it, right? Because they were following the rules.
Right.
Correct? So
Yes.
because he was no longer following the rules,
Right.
and the rules were thrown away, then, I mean, because it seems like somebody would have put that together, but it didn't fit in with their.
Yeah, the classicists wouldn't have wanted to do something that couldn't be analyzed or explained away. But the Romantics, remember, they were pushing for more emotion than anything else. So the truth is, and you can quote me on this, is the ear wins. I mean, if you come up with something and it sounds good, then it's not your job to analyze it. If you're a composer, you just make it sound good and then let the theorists try to figure out how to analyze it. So that's what happened with the German six. It sounded good, it worked, and then the theorists had to come along later and say, well, why does it work? And then they had to come up with something. Now, anyway, there's a little something on the Tristan chord. How ironic. We've got old MacDonald and Tristan on the board at the same time. Wagner would be so insulted. All right. All those keys that Wagner takes us through with this Wagner takes us with on the bottom of page 350. Help me make sure I don't miss any, because there's an A flat. We're going for the roots of each of the keys. Bottom of page 350, A flat major, E flat minor, C flat major, F sharp major, or F
Minor.
sharp minor. Do you see what these are? He's given them.
Yeah.
D major,
F major.
F major, little reminder that it's not F sharp anymore,
A flat.
A flat.
To G flat. To C.
C flat,
C now.
C.
C. Okay. And then
A flat.
A flat
To
again,
C flat.
C flat
Back to A flat.
to A flat.
Wow.
Okay. Explain all of these keys in terms of chromatic third relationship.